Today, we are going to watch Wicked, a musical fantasy movie released in 2024. It has received 7.7 stars out of 10 on IMDb. So, let's roll the intro and start the movie. The movie starts in a small, beautiful village where everyone is really happy because they just got the good news that the Wicked Witch is dead. Then, a fairy named Glinda shows up and confirms that the witch is really gone. Hearing this, the villagers celebrate and start tearing down the witch's posters around town. Just as Glinda is about to leave, a little girl comes up to her and asks, "How does someone become a wicked witch? And why does everyone hate her so much?" Hearing the kid's question, Glinda got serious and told him that these witches aren't bad. They've been made to look that way. It's our negative thinking that does it. After saying that, the scene flashes back to when the witch Elphaba was born. She had green skin, and because of that, her dad, the general, couldn't accept her. It turned out she was a magical child, too. Whenever she cried or got angry, things would start floating in the air. Elphaba didn't get love from her mom and dad. As Elphaba grew up, her troubles started to pile up too. Nobody loved her and no one wanted to stick around. She had a sister named Rose, who was really beautiful but had a disability in one leg. Elphaba loved her a lot. One day, while Elphaba was telling a story to Rose and her friends, the other kids started making fun of her. Elphaba got mad and used her magical powers to lift some stones from the ground and threw them at the kids. When the general heard about it, he was really angry about what Elphaba had done. He took her daughter Rose away from there, leaving Elphaba all alone. The scene ends, and we're taken back to Glinda and the townspeople, who have now made a huge statue of that magical woman, which Glinda is about to set on fire. Just as she's about to leave, another girl asks her, "Was Elphaba your friend, the one you're talking about?" Glinda replies, "Maybe she wasn't a friend, but I knew her really well." As soon as she says this, we flash back to the time when Elphaba and Glinda were together. Glinda was studying at the university, and Elphaba had come that day to enroll her sister Rose, but she couldn't get herself enrolled because her dad, the general, wouldn't let her. That's when the introductions start. Later, the teacher begins to take Rose away with all the proper protocol since she was the general's daughter. Elphaba didn't like that and tried to stop the teacher, but the teacher ignored her and took Rose away. Elphaba got angry, and she stopped Rose's wheelchair. As soon as she got angry, everything started flying around, and the principal saw it all. The principal knew that if the kids saw Elphaba's magic, they would start bullying her and think poorly of her. So, the principal pretended like he did the magic and saved Elphaba from all the kids. After that, he told Glinda to take Elphaba to her room. Glinda agreed, but Elphaba refused because she wasn't there to study. She wanted to go back. But now the principal takes her into a room alone, where she praises her magical powers. She even offers to teach her and help her control her abilities. Hearing this, Elphaba feels really happy and excited. But it only lasts a moment because she suddenly remembers that her father won't let her study. The principal reassures her that she'll talk to the governor and get her enrolled in the university. Now, Elphaba is really happy. When she went to spend the night in Glinda's room, she saw that Glinda had spread her stuff all over the room. There was no space left for Elphaba. When she tried to make some room, Glinda stopped her. That's when Elphaba got really mad. Things started flying around, and even some glass ended up breaking. Elphaba tossed her stuff aside, claimed her space, and went to sleep. Even during the night, they kept arguing about the mess, and somehow all the other students found out about it. By morning, we learned that a team had been formed against Elphaba and Glinda. Elphaba had no one on her side. Everyone joined Glinda's team. They started trash-talking Elphaba. In the cafeteria, everyone left Elphaba alone. In class, all the kids made fun of her together. Anyway, class started and a professor who was an animal came in. When the professor couldn't pronounce Glinda's name right, Elphaba defended him and tried to explain that it was all normal. The professor began his lecture and talked about a time when humans and animals lived together. But when people started running out of food, they began killing animals for their own benefit. Then came a time when humans decided to stop just keeping animals and instead make them slaves. Slaves. When the professor watched the lecture, he noticed that people were still talking against animals. He left feeling sad. Seeing this, Elphaba understood his sadness because no one had ever given her any rights. Elphaba went with the professor and became friends with him. Then the scene cuts, and we see that the principal had also started training Elphaba. She needed to learn how to control her magical powers. Elphaba could lift things just fine with her powers, but whenever she got angry, everything would go haywire. Instead of getting mad at her, the principal would actually get excited because he thought her powers were really impressive. That night, just as Elphaba was about to head back to the professor, she overheard him telling his people that it was time to pack up and get out of there. Now, there's no place for us here. It won't be long before humans will kill us. Hearing this, Elphaba got sad. She was about to leave when the professor saw her and called her inside. The professor showed her a lot of love. Seeing this, Elphaba promised that she would definitely help him and also help you get your rights. After saying this, Elphaba headed into the woods, where she met a boy who was riding a horse and got scared when he saw her. And that's when we found out he was a prince. On the other side of the university, everyone was buzzing about the prince's arrival. Glinda was getting all dolled up to impress him. When the prince finally shows up at the university, he doesn't pay much attention to anyone, but Glinda, the smartest and prettiest girl there, keeps trying to catch his eye. Eventually, the prince becomes friends with her, and she takes him to the library. That's when we find out that the prince has picked up some pretty bad habits. And then he starts breaking the rules here too and climbs on the books. This makes the librarian really angry. To annoy her, the prince starts singing here. With Glinda, everyone joins in singing with the prince and having a great time except for Elphaba. Then the scene cuts to a boy asking Glinda to the prom, but Glinda wants to go with the prince, so he offers her to go with Rose instead. Rose is super excited about the invitation, and as soon as she tells Elphaba about it, she stopped Rose from going out every day because she thought Glinda had some kind of scheme up her sleeve. But Rose wasn't having any of it and got mad at Elphaba for trying to stop her. Meanwhile, Glinda was getting all decked out for the party. Then Elphaba showed up, and Glinda's friends found this weird hat among her stuff. It was her grandma's hat and looked like something a witch would wear. She picked it up and handed it to Elphaba. When Elphaba puts on the hat and heads to the party, everyone makes fun of her. Unaware of this, Elphaba feels happy that at least Glinda has a spot in her heart for her, and now everyone is heading to the prom party. They were all dancing and having a great time. Rose was happy, and Glinda was also enjoying herself with the prince. Elphaba showed up wearing the hat Glinda gave her. When everyone saw her strange look, they started cracking jokes. Everyone was laughing at her. She took off the hat and put it on the ground, and then she started dancing alone, because she hadn't come with anyone. Seeing her strange dance, everyone started making fun of her and laughing among themselves. Watching this, Glinda began to feel bad, since it was all happening because of her. To make up for her mistake, Glinda came over and started dancing with Elphaba, mimicking her moves. This made everyone realize their mistake, and they began to dance with Elphaba too. It was clear that both Glinda and Elphaba had been accepted by the others. It was a big day for Elphaba. All the bad feelings she had for Glinda were gone. They hugged each other and put their differences aside. After leaving the party, they were chatting like friends for the first time in their room. Glinda told Elphaba that she and the prince were getting married soon. It was a secret, just between them. After sharing her secret, Glinda asked Elphaba about hers. She figured Elphaba's secret was her green bottle that she always kept under her pillow. Glinda quickly grabbed the thing so Elphaba could tell her secret. But it wasn't Elphaba's secret. She quickly picked up the bottle and hid it under her pillow, because that bottle belonged to her mom. Glinda got really mad about this and went to her bed. Then she came back to Elphaba to try and cheer her up and said, "Honestly, my dad, the governor, doesn't like me at all. It's because I was born a green baby. Their next kid won't be anything like me either. So the governor, my dad." I fed my mom a ton of milk every day. That's why Rose didn't turn out green, but she was born premature, which left her with the disability. Because of her being born early every time, Elphaba's mom also ended up dying. Elphaba felt like it was all her fault. If she hadn't been born the way she was, her dad wouldn't have fed her mom milk. Rose wouldn't have been born early. She wouldn't be disabled, and her mom would still be alive. Glinda explained that it wasn't her fault. To help change Elphaba's mood, she got her ready, did a little makeup, and changed her style. Because of that, when she went to university the next day, everyone liked her. Even the prince stopped and started talking to her. At that moment, Elphaba was on her way to meet her professor, who was an animal. Now, since animals weren't safe in this world, all the animals were leaving college. It was their last class, but by the time they could leave, a teacher showed up with security guards and forcibly kicked them out. Elphaba felt really bad seeing that. She wanted to help them, but there was nothing she could do. Now, a new professor had taken the old one's place, and he had a little lion cub locked up in a cage. He wanted to use the cub to teach the kids that animals wouldn't be living with us anymore, but would instead be kept in captivity. Elphaba got really angry seeing all of this. She really hated the idea of animals being locked up. Because of her anger, everything around started flying, flowers and all. As a result of her rage, everyone except the prince passed out. As soon as all the kids were out cold, Elphaba got up to take the lion cub back to the forest. The prince helped her, and they set off on a bike toward the woods with the lion cub. When the principal walked into the classroom, she found all the students and teachers unconscious. Seeing this, she realized that Elphaba must have cast the spell. Her powers had grown so much, and she felt really happy. Then she wrote a letter to a great wizard. Meanwhile, in the forest, the prince and Elphaba started arguing about something. The prince was about to storm off in anger when Elphaba grabbed his hand. She found herself liking the prince too, but she knew he would never marry her. So she didn't push the issue any further, and they ended up going back. The next day, she found out that there was a big surprise for Elphaba at the university. A great wizard had called her in for a meeting because the principal had told him about Elphaba's magical powers. Elphaba saw this as a great opportunity and decided to meet the wizard. A green car came to pick her up. Just as she was about to leave, everyone came to say goodbye. The prince gave her a good luck flower. Glinda also came by to see her and shared another secret with her. Now, their friendship wasn't like it used to be. The prince seemed a bit upset. Hearing this, Elphaba felt a bit sad, but she caught her train anyway. As she was leaving, Glinda handed Elphaba a letter. It said that Glinda wanted to go with her, but she couldn't bring herself to say it. Elphaba looked at her, quickly grabbed her hand, and pulled her onto the train. A little while later, they finally arrived in Emerald City. This was the same city we saw at the beginning of the movie, so we saw this in the future too. Here, both of them are welcomed really well. Everyone dances for them, and eventually they are taken inside. There, they feel like they're in a magical city where they watch a magic show. After the show, the magician, this magical person, finally comes out to meet them. This magician takes Elphaba, the witch, with him and shows her the future of the city. The city he designed looks really beautiful. Elphaba tells the magician that he should paint the streets yellow. This was all about filling them with light, and the magician did that. At the same time, he shows Elphaba a little puppet of herself, which was showing that she would rule over the city. Seeing this, Elphaba immediately said, "My dream isn't to rule. My dream is to do something for the animals, and I need your help for that." While they were talking, the principal arrived, and Elphaba was so happy to see her that she went over and hugged her. They were discussing how Elphaba wanted to do something for the animals. Now, here comes a monkey. Listening to the wizard, Elphaba picks up a piece of cloth from the magical book. Then the wizard tells her that this monkey is crazy about flying. If you read these magical words, you can give it wings. After hearing this, Elphaba reads the magic spell, and surprisingly, it works. She feels happy that she did something for the animal, but when she sees the monkey in pain with wings growing out of its stomach, she gets scared. She wants to stop the magic, but when she tries to reverse the spell, the magic wasn't reversing. In anger, she told the wizard to stop the magic again, but he told her that her magical powers weren't strong enough to read the spell from the book, and since Elphaba did it, that means her powers are really strong. And now, whatever is happening, no one can stop it, no matter how hard they try. Elphaba felt even more sad. What she wanted to do and what actually happened. When she went outside and looked, she saw the whole army of monkeys in pain, with wings sprouting from their backs. Seeing this, she realized that the wizard and the principal had actually teamed up to trap her. In reality, neither of them liked animals, and they wanted the animals to be their slaves, using innocent Elphaba to do it. Finding this out, Elphaba got furious, grabbed the magic book, and decided to run away. As she was fleeing, the principal offered Glinda a chance to learn magic, telling her that all she had to do in return was bring Elphaba back. Maybe Glinda liked the idea too, and she took off after Elphaba to catch her. There was an army of monkeys, and they had wings. The principal ordered them to fly and find Elphaba. The wizard also entered the room and set his special guards to look for her. Glinda, who wasn't about to miss her chance to become the wizard, got closer to Elphaba. She was trying to stop Elphaba from leaving, but Elphaba had to go. At that moment, she entered a room where there was a hot air balloon. She wanted to jump in and escape, but by then, several of the wizard's men had shown up to catch her. But before that, Elphaba climbed into the hot air balloon and started to take off. Just as she was about to get away, the palace roof closed above them. That caused their hot air balloon to burst into flames. Elphaba and Glinda fell down and got trapped in a room, where Glinda explained to Elphaba that this was a great opportunity, and she should consider accepting their offer. Elphaba, angry, replied that she never dreamed of ruling. She always wanted to do something for the animals. On the other hand, it was shown that the principal spread the news all over the university and the city that Elphaba was a thief and had run off with a book. Everyone felt really bad about it and started to hate her. Elphaba and Glinda heard the announcement too. Elphaba got really angry when she heard it, but then Glinda told her that she should let out her anger and apologize to the principal. Everything would go back to normal, but Elphaba didn't want to do anything like that anymore. She couldn't handle anything worse than what had already happened to her. So she started reading a spell from that magical book. Glinda tried to stop her, but thanks to the magic, she got a magical broom and flew away. Even the wizard's guards couldn't catch her. As she made her escape, the principal took Glinda with her and offered to teach her magic, saying that together they would find Elphaba. Elphaba felt like Glinda wouldn't team up with the principal. She was tough, but when she found out that Glinda had shaken hands with the principal, her heart broke. This town had treated her really badly. That's why she cursed it to live in darkness. She moved far away into the mountains. The story ends with the idea that no one is born bad. It's people's attitudes that make someone good or bad. In the end, we also learn why the villagers were happy about Elphaba's death, because with Elphaba gone, the curse on their village was lifted. And that's how the story ended.